Welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule. I'm so glad you're joining me. I'm releasing this podcast to you on May 18th, 2025. And if you're keeping track, it is the fifth Sunday in the season of Eastertide. We in the Christian household continue to celebrate the gift of new life that we know through the risen Christ. I'm so grateful to have this chance to be with you today. I've had a little time of a break, and here I am back at it. Hopefully you didn't miss a beat with our Pause for Peace podcast recordings. And on this day, because I've had a time to take a break, I'm thinking about Sabbath. Sabbath can be a weird thing to hear Christians talk about, I realize. But the reality is, and it's especially important to me that we remember this during the season of Eastertide, the reality is Jesus was born into a very faithful family of Jewish people. He was raised as a Jewish boy right on up to his adulthood. His mama and daddy did a good job making sure he knew everything and that he was right along with all of those other boys and girls in his town, learning what he needed to learn, practicing the practices that would be practiced in a faithful Jewish household at his day and age, and being schooled in the Torah, being schooled in the Mishnah, in the stories of his faith family. Sabbath keeping was an important commandment given to the people, given to all that come forth from Abrahamic faith, to be about rest, to be about restoration, to pause from all of the productivity that our society encourages us to be about, that we might truly delight in the gifts of God, and that we, most importantly, will remember that we are not God. We are not the sovereign of the universe. We pause and give thanks to the sovereign of the universe, which for me, I understand as God, as this force that is life, that is liberation, that is freedom, that is love itself. This is what we see in the celebration of Easter. This is what we look for all throughout our world. And this is the God to whom we dedicate our entire lives. In a Jewish household, it is an incredibly intricate ritual that is a part of practicing their faith, that there would be a time, and the rabbis say, when you can see 3 stars in the night sky, it's time to gather and begin the Sabbath ritual with the lighting of candles. And in a Jewish Sabbath home, it would be the woman of the home who would light the candles. This would be a way to signify to her family, it's time to come together, to pause, to give thanks, to remember that we serve and are loved by the God that is the liberating force, that saw our people through to freedom when we were enslaved in Egypt, and that brought us forth that we might worship in joy and freedom, taking great delights in being reconciled fully with one another and with the amazing gifts of creation, and that we might give thanks always to God. The Jewish Sabbath is about pausing from a work week that would be filled with many, many demands in order to welcome in this other presence of God, this Shekinah of God, this sometimes it's called the feminine face of God, which is the presence of repose and of rest, this way that we are held by God, not just recognizing that God is the God of action, but that God is also the God that holds us and waits with us and brings forth new life from that gestation, you might even say, that gestation of purely waiting and watching and reflecting and being charged up once again, almost like plugging our cell phone battery in so that we'll be set to go in the morning. Sabbath is this opportunity to be attuned rightly with God and all things. Sabbath begins at sundown, as I said earlier, when we can count 3 stars in the sky. It's time to light the candles. And it's like 18 minutes after sundown, the candles have to be lit. It's this way that we are called into union with creation itself. If we are faithfully keeping the practice of Sabbath all throughout the year, we will find that just because our workday might go until like 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, Sabbath comes with the setting of the sun. And the sun does not set at the same time all throughout the year. So in my own life, when I have practiced a form of Christian Sabbath keeping, welcoming a time to rest as a faithful Christian person, and even drawing upon some of those rituals of my Jewish ancestry that we all have if we are ones claiming the way of Christ, because Jesus himself was a Jew. So our faith ancestors are Jesus' Jewish brothers, sisters, grandpas, great-grands, great-grandpas. These are the people that are shaping and forming of our understanding of God. So we join this long line of people who lived in a way that kept them rightly oriented to all of creation, stopping with sundown. The day for Jesus and his people actually begins at night. So it is from sundown to sundown that a Jewish family would count a day, which is a little different than most of us might be thinking about a day. We might think of the rising of the sun until the setting of the sun being a day, and then night being after that. Well, in the Jewish household, we start with sundown, and we begin with rest and repose. We begin with celebrating all that has come before in the week that has just passed, and getting ourselves ready to enter in to this beautiful time to just rest and be in sheer delight, knowing ourselves the precious, precious, precious beloveds of God. And so we light the candles. We rightly orient ourselves to the sovereign of the universe, which again, as I said, for me, is the sovereign power, that force of life, that understanding of God that is love, that continues to flow and flow and flow and wraps us up in it all, that we are a part of this amazing, ongoing, unfolding saga that is life. And so we rightly orient ourselves to God, to this sovereign power that we claim is the ruler over all things, that is able to be triumphant even over something like death. That this is only a part of the process, that God, who is this abundant life, that is this abundant love, continues to resurrect, to begin all things anew again. And once we actually rightly orient ourselves to God in a practice of Shabbat, of Sabbath keeping, we also, in a Jewish understanding of Shabbat, of Sabbath keeping, there would be a part of this ritual, a part of this, might even say like a sacramental experience, where there would be the giving celebration and thanksgiving for the fruits of all creation. Partaking, it's an interactive experience before the meal begins. It's a partaking of the fruit of the vine. There is a way in which water is a part of a Sabbath meal, because water is a way that we would cleanse our hands of the work of the week and ready ourselves to rest. The Jewish Sabbath, Shabbat, ritual also includes a time to taste of the delight of the earth, a taste of the bread of the earth. And so families would often pass and take a piece of the challah and enjoy this sweet gift of all of the ways that we are fed by this amazing earth. And for me, I understand that this life force that is God, this love that never ends, is infusing all of it. That God is actually providing for our very needs through the bounty of the earth. This gift that just comes to us. You can walk out into nature in like the wild and actually know that there are berries and plants and all things a part of natural forests that would actually provide for our needs if only we were rightly oriented to this beautiful world in which we live. In the Jewish Shabbat, there would also be a time of singing often, and I like to think about the Jewish Shabbat as a time when families not only get rightly oriented to God, but they get rightly oriented once again to each other as they sit together for a meal, as they reflect upon what has transpired in the week that has passed, as they ponder if anything they planted in their lives, any of the work of their hands has actually come to fruition, has anything grown of what they have been about all week long. It's a time for leisure and lingering and delighting in one another. And in the Jewish practice of Shabbat, Friday evening is a time when partners are to be together, come together once again. It's like this practicing of the ways that we come together with our beloved, with the God. And so intercourse is to be a part of the night of Sabbath keeping, of partners coming together. And it's a time to relax and rest. And for just 24-ish hours, maybe the sun doesn't go exactly that long every part of the season, but for a day from sundown to sundown, a time to put down the work of our lives and to know that we were not made for production. We were made to delight in God, to delight in this beautiful earth, and to delight in the relationships we have with one another. Sabbath rightly orients us back to God. It rightly orients us back to one another, to the earth around us, and it reminds us who we really are. Now, I understand you might not be interested one bit in being a part of a Friday ritual of welcoming the Shabbat, the Sabbath. But one practice I like to keep in like my back pocket, just in case it's a super busy day, is what I call a 7-minute Sabbath. I didn't come up with this. I learned about this along the way. I've spent a long time learning about Sabbath, reading about Sabbath, practicing Sabbath, trying to live in such a way that I stay rightly oriented to God and take a rest from the busy demands of ministry and at least find leisure in my relationship with God, my relationship with all the world, my relationship with others, that I would truly, rightly be connected with who I really am. And so at least once a week to take 24 hours and just remove myself is just such a gift. But when I can't get enough time in a week or in a day when I violate the fourth commandment by not honoring the Sabbath and keeping it holy, which it is the fourth commandment. When I struggle with that, I keep close this practice of a 7-minute Sabbath. 7 minutes is all it takes to kind of rightly orient ourselves to God, to one another, and therefore be rightly, deeply rooted back in who we ourselves are. So right now, in our pause for peace, we're going to practice the 7-minute Sabbath. It's very simple. I'm going to guide you through it a little bit, but all you do, like I go to my cell phone and I open my app that is for an alarm, and I go to the stopwatch part of it, and I set a 7-minute, actually I go to the timer part of it, and I set a 7-minute timer. Now you can use any timer app you want. You can literally use a timer on the stove if you want to do that. Some people have egg timers. I know, what in the world is that? But some people have egg timers, which has sand inside of this like hourglass, and they flip it over. And if they flip it over, 7 minutes has gone by if they have a 7-minute egg timer. So I set a timer, and then I just go. So let's do it. If you can get yourself comfortable for just a moment, find a way that you could be in a place of relaxation, but keep yourself grounded well in the earth. So keep your feet flat on the ground and remember that deep under you is this amazing life force that never ends. It might go dormant, but it never ends. Energy just continues to be transformed. It never ends. So remember that you are connected deep in this, and I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to start the 7 minutes right now. So I invite you to close your eyes. If you've been working throughout this day or watching TV or flipping on an app or whatever you might have been doing, your eyes can take such a beating. So just close your eyes while you're still awake. Take a deep breath, if you will, from your diaphragm, deep, cleansing breath. Release it slowly, and you might even feel yourself beginning to slip into that like ethos of Sabbath, where you are resting, where you're pausing, you're taking delight. So take another deep breath. Just take delight in this amazing world in which we live. Hold it right there at the top before you release slowly, like a wave crashing on the seashore. Take another deep breath. And release it slowly as we settle into these 7 minutes. For us to practice Shabbat, for us to practice plugging ourselves back in to this connection with God that we forget. It's not like God has gone anywhere. It's like we are not attuning to God at all times. So, whatever word you'd like to use for God, whatever image might be most meaningful to you, either aloud wherever you are right now, because you're not on a recording, or in the quiet space of your heart. If you will attune yourself to God, you might even say, "Hey God, I'm here. I'm entering into a time of rest, of repose." We're allowing ego right now, this part of ourselves that drives us, that has us carry out our roles and be faithful to our responsibilities. We're just allowing ego a time to have a break, to let soul show up. To remember that we're not just about production, which is what the ego is all about. We are also beautiful souls that every now and again want some time and space to play, to come forth from us, that we might remember there's so much more to us than anybody else knows. There's so much more to us than anybody else would define us. There's so much more to us than any activity we could be about, even the best activity in the world. There's so much more to us than that. Allow that part of yourself time to shine. And as that part of yourself in the quiet of these 7 minutes, as that part of yourself, give thanks to God, to Yahweh, to the life giver, to the force that is love, to grace. Give thanks to God. Let that soul part of yourself give thanks for this amazing world in which we live. There's green grass that grows under our feet. There is rich soil that does its thing without much help from us. There are incredible forests, amazing trees that know how to survive in a way we can barely fathom. There are birds of the air and fish of the sea and all the creepy, crawly insects of creation. And amazingly, there's you and me, and every human being that has ever lived. We give thanks to God for it all. And in the moments of quiet, I invite us to reawaken to that for which our heart longs, so that this part of ourself that thirsts for being authentic can have these moments to be nourished, to be quenched. We can give thanks too for all of the work of our hands, for what we have been planting, and for any ways that it has sown, that what we have sown has grown. We give thanks for the ability to be able to do what we love, whether it's through our work each day, or whether it's because of our work each day. And we give thanks for the beautiful gifts that we have received. These 7 minutes of Sabbath allow us to be steeped in gratitude. So you might have heard my timer gone off just a bit ago already. So when you are ready to come out of these 7 minutes of Sabbath, I invite you to begin to open your eyes. Let's take a deep breath and release. And just make a mental note right now what you're noticing within. Are you noticing if you feel any calmer? Are you noticing if you do feel like a light with gratitude? Are you noticing if your soul was longing to play a little bit longer? All these things are important things to notice whenever we take a 7-minute Sabbath. Just 7 minutes, plus a little bit extra in what I led us through today. These are a way to pause. These are ways to keep ourselves grounded, rightly oriented to God, to the whole amazing world in which we live, to the relationships we have with one another, and to the deepest self that we truly are. Feel free to continue to pause a little bit longer, should you so desire a longer Sabbath keeping. And if you want to give Sabbath keeping a practice, once a week, whatever sundown to sundown might work best for you, it's a way to get started. If you're not ready to go sundown to sundown, Friday night to Saturday night as a time for you to rest. Whenever you have a chance to be about Sabbath, even if it's just practicing that 7 minutes of Sabbath every day, you don't have to guide yourself through these steps I've guided us through today. You can simply pause for 7 minutes to be still, to focus on your breathing, to allow your mind to be cleared for a little while, to get back grounded in your body. You don't have to be guided through every step of a 7-minute Sabbath. All you have to do is make the commitment to pause for 7 minutes and see what happens in your life. So glad you joined me today. I hope you have an incredible week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Pause for peace.